Am I the asshole for refusing to let my dad see my daughter after he disowned her? I'll make this short because I understandably hate talking about this. My wife 38F and I 32M have struggled with miscarriages. We've had 3 along with other health issues. We were desperate for a baby together. We've struggled for years. And thank goodness we were lucky to find out we were expecting a baby girl. My parents were thrilled, especially my dad. He bought clothes, toys, checked on us, and made sure he was there to support us and his future granddaughter. Our daughter was born with a defect, Down syndrome. My wife and I knew we had many challenges in the future, but that didn't make us less excited or unhappy. My dad, however, had an awful reaction after he found out. He kept brining up that it was my wife's fault. That I should have married a younger woman, which was awful of him to say. He said that he didn't want to have anything to do with this. He distanced himself and stopped talking to us and visiting us and took the stuff back. I cut contact. But my mom visited regularly. This happened years ago. My daughter is now 3. I'm in contact with my sister. She has a 1-year-old son that my dad spends time with. Posts pictures of on social media and brings gifts to. I couldn't help but feel hurt and anger. He didn't even try to reach out, and it's been years. Recently I heard my sister got in an argument with my dad. She moved out of state and he didn't want her and her husband to move so he could see his grandson. My mom would visit and talk about how frustrated and mad my dad is. Despite telling her to drop it, she mentioned that my dad wants us to visit so he could start spending time with his granddaughter. I asked her what granddaughter because for 3 years. He disowned her and for her entire life he's been acting like she doesn't exist. I can't remember the number of nights when I wake up to my wife crying because of what he said. Now my mom is calling me cruel for not agreeing to let him near my daughter. I argued with her and I saw that others started reaching out wanting to set up a meeting, but I refused to go. They're saying I'm robbing him of a relationship with my daughter, ignoring that it was a decision he made 3 years ago. AITA here? The issue is this has been causing everyone around me to point their fingers at me, saying I'm being bitter and preventing my dad from having his granddaughter in his life. Not the asshole. He only wants a relationship with your daughter because his other grandchild is not available to him. Your daughter deserves so much better than that man. Tell your dad, mom and anyone who agrees with them that they can fuck off because you won't subject your daughter to such a disgusting person. I'm so sorry you and your wife are going through this. You sound like excellent parents and I wish your family the best. But stick with your gut. You don't owe that man anything. Not the asshole. He hasn't even apologized for his actions. He hasn't contacted you at all. For all you know, he still wants nothing to do with his granddaughter. Plus, if he mends things with your sister, will he drop your daughter once he has her son again? Not the asshole. Your daughter is not a consolation prize for him, now that his grandson has moved far away. He made his decision years ago. He does not have a granddaughter. Not the asshole, but you are holding on to the blade of a knife someone stabbed you with. You try to punish him now, but mostly hurting yourself. If I were you, I would tell everyone to stop this childish game of giving messages around. When your father wants to see you and your daughter, he can tell you himself. Also, there is a chance he doesn't have the guts to call you himself and the immediate problem is solved without you being to blame. And if he real calls, you don't have to meet and hear him out and get off your chest what you have to say. Not the asshole. What your dad said about your wife and daughter is horribly cruel. It doesn't sound like he has ever even apologized or made the effort to try and reconnect with you, other than telling your mom he wants to see his granddaughter. You're not keeping her away, or robbing him of time. He did that to himself. Hell no. Not the asshole brother. He doesn't deserve to get to know her. He rejected her before birth. Can people try and justify, ask you to forget or forgive his atrocious behavior before? You sound like a good father and husband. Stick to your guns. Not the asshole. Your dad sucks. But please don't say your child has a defect. She is not defective. She has Down syndrome. That's it. Just say it. Not the asshole. He shat the bed 3 years ago and ignored your daughter. Then when his other grandchild moved away and he didn't have that grandchild to dote on. He wants your daughter to fill the gap. He can come and visit you and reach out directly, with his hat in hand. He can apologize and explain himself to you and your wife. If he can't be bothered to do that, you shouldn't be bothered to reward him for bad behavior. NTA, he robbed your daughter of feeling loved and accepted the moment she was born. It's not like she chose to have defects, she was lucky to be born your rainbow baby, deserves to be loved, not just some replacement child. He doesn't respect your wife nor truly love your child, so no, he should not be allowed to try his fake love. Sue, I read that your mom wants you to come crawling back for her husband to feel better about losing his access to his grandson, and relatives think you should as well. Has your dad done anything to show you he regrets his behavior and actually wants to see your family? I feel like mom and the family think this will distract him and make him feel better, and it's not even what he wants. Or he wants to have you crawl back and pretend he wasn't a monster. Keep your daughter and wife away from him. It would take epic gestures and groveling for forgiveness before I would even consider starting a relationship just between him and you to see how that panned out. Fuck him and fuck the people who want to offer your family as a consolation prize. Not the asshole. What? Who gives a shit what mom says? Your wife is very clearly hurt, and when that is rectified, then healing can begin. He can start by sincerely apologizing to your wife for the absolutely despicable behavior and comments he made. Then you can bring visits to the table when and only when your wife is ready. Damn. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. But your dad absolutely is. The only way he should possibly be allowed to have a relationship with your daughter is if he sincerely apologizes, admits just how wrong he was, and grovels for forgiveness. And it has to be sincere. Like he has to have had a come-to-Jesus moment. Anything short of this and he has no right to know your wonderful daughter, who wasn't good enough for his love until he had no other grandchild around. The only reason I'd even entertain an apology and consider letting him into her life is so that she doesn't grow up asking why her grandfather doesn't know or love her. Not the asshole, and honestly I'm concerned he would just use your daughter as a pawn in his fight with your sister. I would love to think he could meet her and learn how horrible and wrong he is, but you know best if he is capable of that. Not the asshole. Your dad is a sexist and ableist asshole. Why should you disrespect your wife's pain or put your daughter in a potentially hurtful situation? 3 years is only long to a child. Any talk or negotiation can only start when he actually, sincerely apologizes to both you and your wife, so clearly he isn't ready to admit fault and shouldn't be forgiven. Not the asshole, you are protecting your daughter from an asshole. That's literally your job as a father. Not the asshole, your wife's age had very little to do with your daughter's condition. I have a cousin who had a Down syndrome son and she was only 24. Truth is, some people panic and react badly when life throws them a curve. He needs to reach out to you and prove to you he's truly sorry before you decide if he deserves a relationship with your daughter. Not the asshole, I would wonder if there's some cultural consideration to consider, but at the same time he's sending his wife, your mom, to talk to you instead of manning up and reaching out to you directly. He isn't trying to make amends, he's not trying to make things right. If he wanted to make things right it would be one thing, but to have somebody else try to push visiting on you is just completely wrong. You're not cruel, you're just holding your ground and protecting your daughter. Can doctors tell if the baby will have a defect like that before birth? NTA, just because she has special needs doesn't mean she's a second choice, he's just trying to use her as a surrogate to make your siblings jealous, it sounds. Not the asshole, might be time to cut mom off too. Not the asshole. In no way has he demonstrated that he is deserving of a relationship with your daughter. He hasn't even acknowledged what he said, let alone apologized for it. It was cruel and deeply hurtful. That is not the kind of person you want your daughter around. Not only that, but he was also cruel to your life. This demonstrates a level of toxicity that is better out of your lives. He doesn't want a relationship with his granddaughter. He wants a replacement for the grandson that moved away. Your dad is a big asshole. Your wife being older has little to do with what happened. People say that the chance increases by 50% as women age, and it is true. However, if the original chance is 1%, and it increases by 50%, the current chance is 50%, not 50%. That is still a very low chance of something going wrong. If a vaccine was made and it was 98.5% effective, it would be considered a fantastic vaccine. You are not the asshole and he is an awe. Not the asshole. Your father is not a safe person. He does what he wants, treats innocent others terribly, and shows no remorse for his deeply unkind and dehumanizing behavior. If you ever see him again, it would be too soon and a betrayal to your daughter and your wife for his treatment of them. Absolutely not the asshole. His regard for your daughter is based on his whim. That's not how it works, and that's not healthy for everyone, especially your daughter. Everyone that believes you're robbing him of a relationship with your daughter are morons, and have so little consideration for your family. Why is your mom and your relatives enabling his behavior? It's disgusting that he is only reaching out to your daughter as a last resort. I'm leaning towards, keep your distance. If he wants to mend fences down the road, he will need to start with you and your wife first. Until he has expressed deep sincere regret and apology, invest time to rebuild trust and relationship with you. Don't introduce him to your daughter. Not the asshole. So angry at your dad for asshole ableism, shame on him. Absolutely not, dude. Why would you come back to a child you didn't even want, and now that you have your favorite child gone you're gonna desperately come back? No, I say. Not the butthole. Not the asshole. Your sister moves so in his mind he has to settle for what he thinks is less with your daughter? What heartless garbage. Do not budge an inch, because the minute your sister moves back, or perhaps he becomes more financially able to travel to her often, he will abandon his granddaughter again. Posts like these absolutely break my heart. Not the asshole. It feels like he wants a relationship with her because she's his only option. He's toxic and I wouldn't let your daughter near him. Not the asshole. He walked out and is expecting to slide back in without even apologizing. He and your mother want you to act like nothing happened and like he did no wrong. His toxicity is nothing you should expose your precious littles to. He is narcissistic, and now that, in his mind, which is not right, the better alternative has departed, he suddenly turned to you and your child to fill the void or ego he needs to feed. More than that, if he refers to your precious littles as this to your face, how would he treat her behind your back if you did let him in? In my opinion, and based on my somewhat similar experience of such a situation, he will not willingly change. He might manipulate you to thinking it, but the reality will rear its ugly head. Not the asshole. Where were all these fingers when he took back everything he had given to you, insulted your wife, said he wanted nothing to do with her? He had 3 years and could not be bothered with your daughter. His loss, and it should stay that way. If when she gets old enough to understand what he did, if possible, you could give her that choice. But not a chance I would allow someone who said such awful things about my child. I mean, really could just imagine what he would say to her. Best of luck in whatever path you choose. It's really funny, whenever I read stories like this on here, and there are a lot of them, it's never the offending person themselves who comes up to the offended, groveling, saying they know they were wrong, and begging to be forgiven. It's always other people saying the offender should be forgiven and the offended are bitter or petty. Why is that? Anyway, not the asshole, of course. Doesn't seem like your father has seen the error of his ways, at all. And even if he had, it would be your prerogative to stay NC. Not the asshole. He took the stuff he bought your baby back because she was born with a disability? Who the heck does that? Do not let this man back into your lives. He's being a fair-weather father and he doesn't deserve to have a relationship with the blessing that is your daughter. Has he contacted you directly and apologized? No? He doesn't get to be forgiven for being a total jerk unless he asks for forgiveness and acknowledges the pain and hurt he has caused and sincerely apologizes. How can he not know that? Good for you for standing up for your daughter. Not the asshole. First, congrats are long overdue for your baby. Congratulations. Party popper. Hell no, you're not the asshole. And please don't give him an opportunity to do to your daughter what he has already done to you and your wife. He said his piece when she was born. He meant every word. He told you who he is, please believe him. He realized with your nephew that he liked the grandpa attention and wants another accessory to show off. Your dad is a despicable sack of skin. If your mom doesn't stop, she may lose out on a relationship with you and your daughter. I hope she figures it out before it's too late. Not the asshole. He chose not to have a relationship with your daughter because he's a hateful individual. Now she's only worthwhile as a second choice, not because he had an epiphany about what really matters. There is a reason why his adult children want nothing to do with him. If he's serious, he'll start taking the steps he needs to take to start being a better person and then offer a sincere apology for his past behavior. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your dad sounds like a bully, to be honest, and I wonder how long it will take for him to berate your wife and child when he is upset or frustrated. You could be putting your wife in a bad situation if you do see him. Not the asshole. Ignore everything your mom says. Not the asshole. For one thing, your father has proven that he can say unbelievably cruel things at the drop of the hat, so you cannot trust him to keep his mouth civil around your wife or your daughter. Do not expose them to that potential source of pain and abuse without some sort of absolute guarantee that he can control himself. Also, it is up to him to prove to you that he can control himself, it is not up to you to provide an opportunity for him to prove it to you. You are under no obligation to put him into a position to hurt your family again just because he is lonely. Not the asshole he robbed himself of a relationship with his granddaughter. Look, until your sister moved away and took your nephew with her, he didn't want anything to do with your daughter. Only now that he doesn't have his grandson to dote on, does he try to give a shit. What'll happen if your sister moves back? Or he and your mom move to be closer to your sister? He'll drop your poor kiddo like the object he sees her as, and go back to playing with his favorite toy, your nephew. You and your kid deserve better, op. Take this time to recognize who will listen to reason, aka side with you when they realize grandpa's just mad he pissed in his own parade, and who is worth cutting out. Not the asshole, and good luck. Not the asshole. Your beautiful daughter is not a consolation prize because he can't see his neurotypical grandson. She is a unique and wonderful person in her own right. He clearly doesn't see her that way, so doesn't deserve to see her. She deserves grandparents who cherish her exactly the way she is. Causing everyone around me to point their fingers at me saying I'm being bitter. This always puzzles me. People tell you you're being bitter as if it's some sort of character defect or unnatural vice, when you've got every reason to be as bitter as hell. Not the asshole. Being bitter? You're just helping him stick to his resolution. Your daughter doesn't need someone like that in her life, unless he has genuinely reformed. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your wife's age is just, ow. I am so mad at your dad. Flames on the side of my face. My cousin's oldest has Downs and my cousin was in her early 20s when baby girl was born. I adore that girl. I've been around a few children with Downs. Why wouldn't anyone not want them in their life? I say that unless your dad comes to you with a proper, sincere apology and continued proof that he's changed, don't let him near your family. To the curb. Also, what would happen if you had more kids? My cousin had 2 boys, not with Downs. Would your dad start favoring the normal grandkids? Surround your family with people who love them and support you and your wife. NTA, tell your wife you're going grandparent shopping and go to your local old folks' home. I'm sure you'll come out with plenty who couldn't care less your sweet girl has DS. That's really sad that he did that. People with DS can live amazing lives and do pretty much anything, they just more happy and huggy about it. Not the asshole. I wouldn't want this man to have any influence on my daughter's development. Strongly not the asshole. I have a sibling with special needs, so this post definitely resonates with me. Your reaction is fully justified. Your angel of a daughter deserves all the love in the world and should only be surrounded by people who truly accept and love her. Your wife also deserves a strong support system. If anyone should make first contact, it's your dad. On his knees. Apologizing profusely. Making tons of effort. Remorseful. Preferably crying, but that's just me. Not the asshole. Your sister had a fight with your father and moved out of state away from him. I wonder if your father was too controlling and was demanding more and more time with the grandson. It sounds like he thinks kids are interchangeable. One leaves, spend time with the other. Not the asshole. Fuck that, your daughter is not his consolation prize.